Well, we're still working in the locomotive shop area. Last Tuesday, if you recall, we started work on the ash pit. And this week we're going to be finishing up the ash pit. There's still so much to do around the engine shop here. On Sunday, we were working on the coaling tower. But boy, there's just so much to do here in the engine shop area. Anyway, today we're finishing up the ash pit. Last week we showed the gaping hole here in the layout where the ash pit is going to go. Here's the ash pit at Durango, Colorado, and this is pretty much the idea behind the ash pit that we're constructing. It will look something quite similar to this, we hope, when we get it all done. Last week we built the basic shell for the ash pit out of this thinner, half-inch thick extruded styrene foam. It's similar to the insulation board that you can get at Home Depot, but this is a thinner and I think somewhat more dense material. We buy it off of Amazon. You can get it at some of the craft stores, but it's not something you'd pick up at Home Depot. And then we constructed the bridge that goes across the ash pit out of Plaststruct. It's very similar to the Evergreen, but we used two different varieties of the Plaststruct, both the styrene and the acetate versions of that material. And anyway, constructed the entire bridge. That was all last week. Karen had the most magnificent idea for the coal cinders, and she's used this on some of her models, but this is slag from our casting system. If you follow the channel, we cast a lot of our parts and stuff out of a white metal, and you have to scrape the oxide off the top of the molten metal before you cast with it, and then I just dump it in this pot. And boy, does that look like burnt coal. It has little ribbons of silver running through it too from the white metal, which is kind of cool for what we're doing here because it picks up the light from the flickering LEDs and really looks nice. So just to compare it here with the prototype, boy, the texture is correct, the color is correct, and then when we add the LEDs in there, it should look pretty much just like what we're seeing here at Durango. So I took a hammer to some of that because it tends to form into one great big lump, and broke it up into some smaller pieces and then started to arrange that over the flickering LEDs. And speaking of the flickering LEDs, let's go ahead and get that set up. So the LEDs are about a 5 millimeter, something like that. And I just used a drill bit here. Fortunately, working with this extruded foam, it's so soft I don't even need to use a drill. I can just twist my drill bit down through here and make the holes that I'll run the LEDs up through. I'm going to put 5 of them in here. We bought these flickering LEDs off of Amazon. It was a package of 50 of them for not a whole lot of money. And it comes with a bunch of yellow flickering LEDs and I think it's 100 ohm dropping resistors so that they work correctly at 12 volts. At any rate, I soldered the dropping resistors to the lead of the LED and then wrapped that whole thing in heat shrink. And I've positioned them as you see here. All I need to do now is tie all of the positive leads together and the negative leads together and tie that to 12 volts. And then, of course, because they're LEDs, I have to be very careful with my polarity to make sure that everything's getting proper positive and negative from the DC. Now, we bought a kit off Amazon a while back for doing these little plastic fake stained glass windows. And you can use it on glass too, but it's just a colored paint. And boy, does it work great for just coloring LEDs. So I've colored 2 of them red and 1 of them orange, and I'm letting the other 2 just be their natural yellow color that they came in. And then I'm arranging the slag here over the top of that so that it pretty much completely covers the LED. You can kind of see at the LED surface in a few little areas, but it looks best if I completely cover up the LEDs so that you can just see the flickering down inside the pile of cinders, or in this case, the metal slag. Now, I considered a lot of different ways of attaching this so it doesn't just all fall out of here. Typically for larger items like this, I'll sometimes use a CA glue, a super glue, but more often than not, especially with the lighter materials, I'll use a dilute white glue. My concern here was that the dilute white glue has some trouble attaching really large chunks of stuff like this. So I had to put several coats of this on here. Moreover, I had to mix up a special batch of white glue that was probably only about 50-50 water and white glue, and maybe even a little more white glue than that, so that it could really stick to the slag. Now, what we typically use for cinders is cinders. We went and dug up, I'll bet, well over 50 pounds, maybe 70 pounds of cinders at the Evanston Roundhouse up in Evanston, Wyoming. Everywhere it's just all paved in cinders. And then we'll use that around the engine shop, use it for, put it on the tracks with the ballast in places. It just looks really great because it really is locomotive cinders. So the rest of the bottom of the ash pit here is actually covered with real locomotive cinders. Only the big pile in the middle with the LEDs is the slag, and then everything else down here is locomotive cinders from the roundhouse at Evanston. Now I'm securing this in place with the same idea, the dilute white glue. It's much more dilute in this case, and I'm starting off by spritzing the entire area with alcohol. Alcohol is nice because it evaporates quite quickly where water tends to pool, and anyway, it just works much better if you spritz the area with alcohol. And then mix up another batch of this dilute white glue. And again, much thinner in this case than before, where I was mixing up a fairly heavy batch. This time I want it mostly dilute, and then I apply that over the top of the alcohol. And the alcohol helps it soak into all of the material everywhere. And once this dries, it generally doesn't dry glossy. If it does, I'll have to knock it down with a flat clear. But typically speaking, once this sets up, it's all anchored in place and looks quite nice. I got a little carried away here with the glue. It's quite swampy, but it turned out just fine. And in this case, no glossy areas. Sometimes, like I say, when you do this, the glue will dry kind of shiny, and then I'll just hit it with a dull coat, which I'm going to hit it with anyway. I'll show you that here in just a second, because I'm going to come back now with charcoal sticks and add the light dust up on the sides and this light powdery coal dust that's gotten everywhere. I like to use these charcoal willow sticks. You can also get charcoal in compressed square bricks, but that stuff has an oily base to it, and boy, does it get all over everything, gets all over your hands. This stuff is just willow sticks that have been charcoalized, and I take my blade and just scrape that off and get some of this really light powder. And sometimes I'll even use the sticks directly on there, but for the most part I scrape it with a blade just to get some of this really, really fine powder that I can then apply with a paintbrush. So the effect that I'm after here is the stuff that's just drifted up here as material's been dumped down, and charcoal dust just goes absolutely everywhere and covers absolutely everything and everyone. I want to make sure that the sides and the ramp down in here, everything looks like it's just been just filthy with ash and coal dust and yuck from the locomotive. And then I like to have it build up in heavy piles, if you will, up in the corners here and certain areas, because in its natural state, of course, we'll get these piles of material along the edges and so on. And then just like I say, get it absolutely everywhere because this coal dust is just going to go everywhere when they're dumping out the cinders and the ash. It's really nice working with these powdery materials when they're just dry like this. I'll use, dirt and just all kinds of things in a dry state like this because you can scoot it around with your brush and get just the most wonderful natural effects when you're working with these dry chalks. And like I say, just dirt out of the garden and stuff that you can apply to your railroad this way. And then I like to come back with the actual charcoal stick and draw using the stick just like you would be drawing a painting, and just come across some of these surfaces here and apply some of this charcoal right along the surfaces with the charcoal stick itself. And because I want it to go absolutely everywhere, I've gotten it up on my metal bridge as well, and just keep moving it around till you say, well, that looks like a real mess. I like that. That's yuck. I love the look. And now everything needs to be affixed in place. And I've got some more of the heavy ash in here that'll need to be attached with the white glue technique. But for the most part, everything in here is going to be fixed in place using dull coat. I've even used hairspray for this, but typically I like to use the Tester's dull coat and just lightly mist this over the top of the whole thing, and that will anchor the coal dust, the charcoal dust in place. Again, the heavier chunky material will have to be done with white glue. Now the dull coat has to be applied in very, very light, thin layers. For one thing, it will attack the foam if you get it on there too heavy, but the bigger issue is if it starts pooling on the surface in any kind of way, the charcoal dust soaks up into it and it ruins the effect. So you just have to very lightly mist this over your charcoal, and then you can come back and add more and more coats of it. But if you get it on there at all thick, it really just ruins the whole effect. And then there were quite a few pieces that still didn't really want to stay in place, so I gently came in with a little of the very thin super glue, the CA glue. The problem is that stuff will attack this foam if it gets on it, so you have to be very careful with that. But a few drops in strategic places really anchored everything in place. Well, Sunday, Karen and I are back working on the coaling tower, and the next project over here at the ash pit is the tool rack. There's going to be a tool rack right here for the tools that the guys working in the ash pit for prodding the cinders out of the locomotive have some long tools that they use for that. And there's going to be a rack of those and even a light over here. And we hope you're going to want to follow along with that. And so if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe by clicking on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet, and we sure hope you didn't find it boring. And Karen and I will see you here on Sunday. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.